Action News now is on fire watch, watching what's become the fourth largest wildfire in California history, still burning in Butte and Tehama counties. The park fire is now sitting at 406,579 acres. It is now 34% contained. This fire is 625 square miles now. CAL FIRE says that at least 52,000 acres have burned.
Because when they put out a fire, they put it out real slow.
And CAL FIRE says that damage inspection teams have completed 100% of their assessments on damaged structures. So 640 destroyed structures between the two counties, 52 damaged structures. We learned new details this afternoon on the firefight operations. CAL FIRE says the Mill Creek drainage is still a major concern. The area is south of Highway 36 and Mineral in remote Tehama County, just to the west of Highway 32. The Tehama County Sheriff's Office issued a mandatory evacuation warning, or a mandatory evacuation order, I should say, for Zone 720A along Mill Creek Plateau, west of Highway 32. CAL FIRE says the 8-mile-long drainage has heavy fuels and steep terrain. You just saw that enormous amount of smoke coming out of that time-lapse from the Alert to California Stover mountain camera this afternoon. Activity exploded there around 2, sending that huge pyrocumulus plume high into the atmosphere. Fire crews have been trying to work directly in that area. CAL FIRE says they are working to find an opening to place fire crews safely in order to create new lines. CAL FIRE says they do have a plan of attack.
At this point, the fire is still within our control lines, our primary and our alternate control lines. So we are surging resources as our plan that we've had throughout the entire incident to assist those that are already assigned within that area to help combat that fire. We're also flying numerous aircraft, both rotor and fixed wing. Within that, we have an air attack officer that is overseeing that plan with all the aircraft currently, and the issue is ongoing, and it is developing as we speak. So
CAL FIRE says that the communities of Butte Meadows, Forest Ranch, and Cohasset have been repopulated. Tehama County Sheriff Dave Kane says several orders and warnings have been reduced, and he says there will be a community center in Red Bluff opening on the 15th of August to help those who want to take a step toward rebuilding.
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kadosh. Noble honors, yells, and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Akim out there on the four corners of the earth proclaiming this truth. Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kadosh, Brakatum. So I thought you might find this one a little bit interesting. Community responds after fire truck stolen while battling the park fires. Yes, it's true that Redding firefighter on the front lines battling the park fire became victim of a crime while he was working alongside hand crew in the remote footprint of California's fourth largest fire in history. So we'll play this news clip here, as this is very interesting. I thought, anyways. If I can get this. Oh, it doesn't want to work. There it is.
And how the low blow one firefighter didn't even see coming, Madison. Well, in the middle of heat, flames, and difficult terrain, a Conservation Corps firefighter found out that his truck was likely stolen by someone in the town he was working non-stop to protect. Flames at the fire line, fought by hand crews non-stop.
It's been like 24-hour shifts every day.
Day after day, on the state's fourth largest fire in history, Judah Collins, alongside the rest of this hand crew, works through steep terrain, heat, and fire.
We just cut line the whole day, honestly. We usually cut from like 9 a.m. until 3 a.m. or something like that, and then we stage and watch to make sure no fire hops the line we caught for the rest of the night.
Within the last few days, Collins has been sidelined by a foot injury.
It was really disheartening, honestly, because I thought, like, just throw some moleskin on, patch me up, send me back out there with my crew.
He says he was sad to leave his crew and the firefight, but learned in the middle of his shift, his truck, parked right outside the California Conservation Corps facility, was stolen.
I was freaking out. I was heartbroken.
Now, back from these remote hills and the firefight, the only way he gets around is on a bicycle. And remember, he's injured.
Yeah, I kind of just focused on what was in front of me.
He can only hope the black truck he saved up for years to buy will be found.
It's hard work, and I get to make a difference, and that's really what I care about, and this is the payback I get, sadly.
The good in this story, strangers in the community have rallied around him, even calling him a hero online for the work and the hours that
So, like everything else, though, comes back to find out that his truck was stolen. See? Mercilessness. But nonetheless, though, more evacuations have been issued as this goes into Hammond.
We're on fire watch for the Park Fire. Overnight, new evacuation orders were issued for eastern Tehama County as the fire becomes much more active. The fire has burned 406,000 acres and is 34% contained. We're expecting an update on those numbers in the next 30 minutes or so. This is time-lapse video from the Alert California camera on Stover Mountain, just west of Lake Almanor, looking to the west toward Mineral and Mill Creek. Around 1 p.m. yesterday, the fire became suddenly much more active in the Mill Creek drainage, sending up that huge plume.
Like I said, the fuels are very heavy in there, very steep terrain, and it lends itself to this kind of fire behavior. So we are seeing a significant amount of fire behavior within that drainage. At this point, the fire is still within our control lines, our primary and our alternate control lines. So we are surging resources as per our plan that we've had throughout the entire incident to assist those that are already assigned within that area to help combat that fire.
And they're using additional aircraft to attack the flames from above. National Guard hand crews joined the fight this week. They're expecting more hand crews with 100 personnel arriving as soon as today.
If you've been in a car accident...
Salakia. You know how these goddamn commercials are. Anyways, there's more about the Chico mayor who lost his home in the fire.
People have lost their homes in the Park Fire, including former Chico Mayor Ann Schwab, who had a property in Forest Ranch that she was spending her retirement in. Action News Now reporter Margot Rowe spoke with the former mayor, and she shows us what's next for her.
Somebody's house is burning.
It wasn't just a house.
Down, down,
It
down,
was a
down.
reflection of us, and it was a real work of art.
Former Chico Mayor Ann Schwab lost her Forest Ranch home in the Park Fire. She says she and her husband built and designed the home in 1996. They also have a home in Chico.
Around 2002, I moved down to Chico to make that my primary residence. I just miss Chico and living there and being part of the community. After my retirement, I've started to spend a lot more time up here at Forest Ranch.
As she and her husband were evacuated, Schwab assumed they would be able to return home soon enough. As the fire grew, she reached out to firefighter friends by text.
Got a call that said, yes, your house, we're pretty sure it's your house. They couldn't tell from the address because the address had burnt down, but they described it perfectly.
Then a call from Sheriff Corey Honey confirmed it.
And he called to offer his condolences and asked if there was anything that he could do for us. And I asked him if he could just verify it. And he did call me later and told me, yes, our house was gone.
Schwab came back to the house just last week looking for a sign that everything was going to turn out okay. And she got that sign. Literally. But to understand Schwab's sign, we need to take you here to downtown Chico, specifically to Campus Bicycles, where Schwab and her husband owned the store 45 years ago. But it wasn't originally...
Well, these rich people are getting it, aren't they?
It used to be several blocks down the street, down on Main and
Was it?
5th.
Oh, Small and Great?
There was a traffic accident outside, and
Right?
the sign came
Both
down.
Small
One
and
of the
Great?
employees walked over and picked up the sign, thinking that somebody would come get it later. Well, no one came and got it, so we kept it.
Schwab says the store had to move twice, and each move caused her worry over the success of the business, but the business survived and blossomed after each move. And she says finding that sign untouched by the fire was her sign that she'll be okay.
So, like everything else, though, you have that going on in Fuckfornia, but you also got Hurricane Derby, right? Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, crosshairs of Tropical Storm Derby. They keep saying hurricane, and then they drop it down to Tropical Storm Derby. Churning through southeast Charleston this AM. Expected to bring significant flooding, rain across the southeast as the storm moves north. It will dump heavy rains across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast later this week. Meteorologist wrote on X, Tropical Storm Derby is largest Hollywood out by dry air, but the rain bands will fill in gradually during the day across the Carolinas into the Thursday heavier rain headed into Raleigh, eventually Charlotte. So we'll play a little bit of this. You can see that moving a little bit. So yeah, you got fires, and then you got this tropical storm, because you can't call it a hurricane anymore, going on at the same time. And then of course this flaring up. EU natural gas soars as 1,000 soldier Ukraine raid into Russia captures key gas facility. Okay, so you know as well as I do that, okay, that they have captured a important facility that Russia has, so you know it's going to demand response. Kremlin announced that its forces thwarted a major ground assault from the Ukraine forces into Russia's southwestern Kursk region. President Putin called it large-scale provocation, which is being defended against for a second day, while the Ukraine side remains silent. The fight in the area, the incursion, has raged for 2 days. Straight does indeed suggest an attack which is large in scope. Putin further described the indiscriminate shelling of civilian buildings, residential houses, ambulances with different types of weapons amid the assault, called an emergency meeting of his top defense and security officials. Military is further sending assistance to the Kursk region, which lies over 300 miles from Moscow. So indeed, that is quite an escalation. But they already know that they're getting their weapons from the West. So, but the war is not really going to be fought over Ukraine. Believe it or not, eventually Russia's going to join in with Iran, against the Israeli state, who is propagating the war. White House believes that Iran is backing down from the Israeli strike after diplomatic blitz. Really? Yeah, I can really see them going with a tail behind their leg. Just because they haven't struck yet doesn't mean they're not going to. They're just waiting for the right time, and it's going to be a bigger one. Washington Post has said the intensive international diplomatic efforts to get Iran to step back from launching a new attack on Israeli state may be having an effect. The report cited blitz of diplomatic interventions with both Tehran and Tel Aviv. It's urgent that everyone in the region take stock of the situation and understand the risk of miscalculation. So they believe they got Iran to scale down the response. Well, that's wait and see. Ain al-Assad attack marks new phase of escalation against the American terrorist Iraqi resistance. Iraq's Islamic resistance says this week's attack on the U.S.-occupied al-Assad air base in western Iraq marks a new phase of escalation against American terrorist bases. So, like everything else though, they want a war, they're going to get one. And here we go, more about Kamala Harris and her new pick supports that faggot shit. Veteran left-wing radical and LGBT plus pedophile supporter, what we know about Harris' running mate and his progressive politics. Minnesota Governor Walz was officially announced as Harris' vice president pick on Tuesday. So they're going to push pedophilia and faggot shit, with these two. Democratic presidential nominee Harris announced Minnesota Governor Walz as her running mate in her bid for the White House later this year. Walz, former teacher, Army veteran, emerged as vice president frontrunner in recent days despite not being a household name. Following the announcement, Minnesota Governor said it was an honor of a lifetime to be chosen by Harris. So, like everything else though, he supports a lot of faggot shit and pedophilia. Oh, just like Biden, yeah. And then you got this going on. One martyr, 4 injuries in Israeli raid on southern Lebanon. So the Israeli state continuing to provocate, continue their provocations, right? Lebanese man was martyred and 4 others were injured in Israeli raid on Wednesday. Julia town, southern Lebanon. Israeli enemy raided Junia town, causing martyrdom of 1 person and the injury of 4 others. Lebanese health ministry was quoted by national news agency as saying in a statement. Earlier, a woman was injured in Israeli artillery shelling that targeted Shako town, southern Lebanon. And like everything else, though, this goes into their recent threats, because they said that they would overthrow Erdogan just like Saddam Hussein. But Turkey, aka Gomer and all his bands, will be in the fight, as the scriptures tell us.
This application is a historic step. With this intervention application, Turkey will show the whole world, in the eyes of international law, that it stands by the Palestinian cause and against the inhumane genocide in Gaza. Israel committed and continues committing crimes. They opened a dark chapter in the world's history.
Turkey wants it to become South Africa and Turkey versus Israel, but more importantly wants it to become South Africa, Turkey, and many other states that join this movement. And there seems to be some momentum gained. The interest that Ankara has shown could, in one form or another, encourage others to step up, and this is one of the fundamental reasons as to why the Turkish state is involved in this case. But of course, we have to understand that the dossier that Ankara will provide to The Hague is going to be kept under wraps. This is an ongoing legal case, but it will become public knowledge sooner rather than later. And what we understand is the Turkish government is trying to apply pressure against the Israeli government. And in the words of the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, he says that Turkey is doing everything it can to put an end to the barbarism.
The attacks initiated by Israel on Gaza have entered their 10th month. Unfortunately, Western actors, primarily the United States, have become captives of Israel. We have been doing everything we can to end this barbarism, which has cost the lives of 40,000 innocents, as soon as possible. No matter what the bloodthirsty genocide network does, it cannot prevent the solidarity of Turkey and the Turkish nation with the Palestinian people.
Looking at the case or the dossier provided by South Africa, we can have a better understanding of what the Turkish side has to provide to The Hague as well. And what we see is, of course, the report that was issued by the ICJ essentially suggesting that Israel is complicit in genocide and war crimes. We have statements provided by Israeli officials, by the Israeli government, as well as its war cabinet, that is incriminating itself and does not necessarily need more evidence from Turkey or South Africa or other heads of states to intervene and pin this on the Israeli government. And very briefly, I want to go over just some of them, which paints us a better picture as to why the Israeli government is being tried at the ICJ. The president, Isaac Herzog, says, quote, "It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It's not true, this rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved." The Ministry of Defense very similarly said, while he was announcing a siege on Gaza, he said, quote, "No electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are finding human animals. Gaza won't return to what it was. We will eliminate everything." And this is why Turkey is more concerned about ensuring that Israel is brought to justice, support the Palestinians, but also at least try and convince people to move towards a two-state solution. And this is what the Turkish government's position on this is. A two-state solution is the only way out of this, and nothing else matters.
So, like everything else, though, you know, they're just in another land grab. That's what it's really all about, to wipe Palestine out and just claim the whole area as the Israeli state. Kind of like how they stole Golan Heights from Syria. You know, it's a similar war. You know, they just take, you know, and just throw people out. You know, kind of like what they claim the Nazis did to the Amalekites in Germany. But you're finding out that the Holocaust was really just another hoax. You know, it's been a hoax for years. But you can't say that shit in fucking Europe or anything, or you go to jail. You know, you'd be imprisoned just for denying the Holocaust. You know, even though most people know that it was just nothing more than Hollywood movies telling you, yeah, there was a Holocaust, but yet they don't even number 50 million to begin with. But you've heard, or they don't number 6 million rather. They never did. They're the least of the flock. You know, and like everything else, though, Ezekiel chapter 38 goes into Turkey, which is known as Gomer in these scriptures. And Magog will be joining in the fight very shortly. Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 5, you know, which we'll go over 4 as well. "I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws and bring thee forth all thine army, horses and horsemen." You know, talking about Russia, which is, you know, talking about the kind of weapons that they'll have. You know, horses and horsemen is referring to the missiles. "All of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, having very sophisticated weapons. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet," meaning that they'll have what you now know as S-400s, S-500 systems, S-300s, S-200s. All these, you know, capable of firing ICBMs will be placed in these places. Gomer and all his bands, which is talking about Turkey. House of Tagarma, the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. "Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." Meaning that they're going to be very well armed. And like everything else, so this is eventually going to commence. The more and more the Israeli state pushes, because they're the ones that's going to draw everyone in. So hopefully this has been edifying, and like everything else, there's more on the longer version of this. There's just certain articles I cannot read on here, and other videos I cannot forward on here, just to be on the safe side, to keep my videos still here on YouTube. But the longer lengths are on the other 3 channels I described in the description box. For that I will say Bracha Yahweh, Bracha Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakakadash, Wa Abab Bal. Brakathum, Jehovah Shalom.